Welcome to Monk's Moon Temple. There is a space inside you that has never been anxious. It's a chamber in your heart that criticism has never bruised. It's a quiet corner of your mind that has never replayed an old argument. You have spent a lifetime trying to fix, manage, and improve yourself, but you have never been able to permanently damage this inner sanctuary. It's not something you build. It's something you uncover. It's the foundation of who you are, lying patiently beneath the weather of your emotions and the architecture of your thoughts. The door to this space isn't locked. But you've likely been handed 1,000 wrong keys: the key of achievement, the key of approval, the key of possession, and told to try them all, one by one, on a door that was never closed. Tonight, we put down the keys. We stop trying to pick the lock. We simply notice the door is already open. And we practice walking through. As you listen, a man in Reykjavik is watching the winter sun hover just above the horizon for its few precious hours, finding a rhythm in the slow light that matches a patience he's trying to cultivate. A woman in Jakarta is sitting in a bikak caught in monsoon traffic, letting the drumming rain on the plastic roof become her meditation. Perhaps you are in a suburb of Cape Town, a loft in Montreal, or a farmhouse in the Welsh countryside. The geographic coordinates don't matter. The posture does. The posture of listening. Of stopping the chase, just for now. So, let your body become heavy. Feel the surrender of weight to whatever supports you, the chair, the floor, the earth. Notice your breath moving in its own ancient wisdom, a gentle tide you did not command and do not need to control. This is where we begin. Not with a problem to be solved, but with a presence to be inhabited. Not with what's wrong, but with what's fundamentally, undeniably real, the simple feeling of being alive, right here, right now. We start our journey by dismantling the most seductive and painful story ever told, the story that peace, contentment, and your real life are somewhere else. For most of her adult life, Clara was a cartographer of happiness. A geologist by training, she was skilled at reading the history of the earth in layers of rock. She applied the same logic to her inner life. She believed peace was a stratigraphic layer she could uncover if she just dug through the right overburden of stress. She had a mental map, and on it was a marked valley called contentment. To reach it, she believed she had to pass through the mountain passes of the perfect career, cross the river of ideal relationships, and navigate the forests of financial security. She spent years with her mental pickaxe, chipping away. She secured the tenure-track position at a respected university. She married a kind, steady man. She ran marathons, cultivating a body that was strong and resilient. By all external measures, she was navigating the map perfectly. Yet, in the quiet moments, preparing a lecture late at night, lying beside her sleeping husband, stretching sore muscles after a long run, a low-grade hum persisted. It was the background radiation of her psyche, a constant, subtle sense of not yet. Peace was always in the next valley, after tenure, after buying the house with the garden, after starting a family. The present moment was merely a base camp, a temporary staging ground for the real expedition ahead. Her epiphany did not come on a pristine mountain peak during a moment of triumph. It came in a sterile, fluorescent-lit hospital room. Her father was recovering from unexpected and serious heart surgery. Machines beeped with a fragile, synthetic rhythm. The air smelled of antiseptic and the faint sweetness of wilting flowers. On her lap, her laptop glowed with a half-finished, pivotal grant proposal due in 48 hours. Her own heart was a trapped animal, pounding against her ribs with the competing terrors of professional failure and paternal loss. The familiar internal narrative began its frantic, punishing scroll: "You're going to fail. You're negligent. You can't handle this. You're a terrible daughter and a fraud of a professional." But in that sterile room, utterly trapped between two unbearable futures, something in her perception cracked. Not her resolve, but her point of view. A sentence formed, clear and calm amid the mental sirens. It wasn't a thought she produced, it was a truth that emerged from the stillness beneath the panic. What if this hospital room is not an obstacle on the path to my peace? What if this hospital room is the territory? It wasn't resignation. It was a radical recalibration of her navigational equipment. She stopped fighting the reality of the beeping monitors, the looming deadline, the clawing fear. She put her laptop on the floor. She looked at her father's sleeping face, pale and vulnerable against the stark white pillow. She saw the delicate blue veins on his eyelids, the slow, assured rise and fall of his chest beneath the thin hospital blanket. She heard the precise, metallic click of the fore-pump. She felt the cold, smooth plastic of the chair arm beneath her palm. She noticed the ache in her own lower back from hours of sitting. She did not find peace that day, if peace means the absence of fear or difficulty. Her father's recovery was long and uncertain. Her proposal was submitted in a frantic, last-minute blur, fueled by bad coffee and desperation. But something tectonic had shifted. She had, for the first time, stopped trying to be elsewhere. She had fully inhabited the coordinates of her actual experience, a loving, worried daughter in an uncomfortable chair, witnessing her father's fragility, fearing his loss, and also carrying the weight of her own professional life. The peace she'd sought in future valleys was, ironically, only discoverable by fully standing on the rocky, uncomfortable, sacred ground of the present canyon. She learned that arrival isn't a location you reach on a map. It is the decision to stop comparing your current landscape to an imagined one. The mirage vanished because she stopped looking for it. We are all, in some way, like Clara. We are explorers convinced the treasure is in the next valley, on the next island, over the next horizon. We believe happiness is a function of geography, of life circumstances. If I could just get there, have that, become this, then I could rest. But this is the cruel, clever magic of the mirage. The mind that is restless, dissatisfied, and seeking here will be restless, dissatisfied, and seeking there. It will simply find a new horizon to fixate upon. The treasure is not over the next ridge. The treasure is the capacity to be fully present with the ground beneath your feet, whether it's soft grass or sharp stone, a sunlit meadow or a sterile hospital room. Cognitive neuroscience offers us a compelling model for understanding this mirage. Researchers have identified a network in the brain called the default mode network, DMN. Think of it as your brain's internal narrator, its autobiography writer. It's most active when you're not focused on an external task, when you're daydreaming, reminiscing about the past, worrying about the future, or constructing stories about yourself and others. What did they think of me? What if I fail? Remember that time I embarrassed myself? In moderation, this is normal, even useful. It helps us plan, learn from experience, and create a sense of self. But in states of chronic stress, anxiety, or depression, the DMN can become hyperactive, stuck in repetitive, negative loops. It becomes the neural architecture of the mirage, constantly pulling you out of the sensory present to dwell in a past you can't change or a future you can't control. It's the biological basis of living in elsewhere. The profound insight from research at institutions like Harvard and Yale is this: practices that firmly anchor awareness in the body, in immediate, non-judgmental sensation, directly reduce activity in the DMN. You are not trying to destroy the storyteller. You are simply changing the channel from its obsessive, repetitive dramas to the live, direct broadcast of present-moment reality. The feeling of the breath in your nostrils, the sound of the wind outside, the sensation of pressure where your body meets the chair. Peace, then, is not the absence of the mind stories. It is the growing ability to rest in the awareness that is hearing the stories, without believing you are the doomed protagonist in every single one. You are the screen upon which the movie plays, not the actor running from the monster. So, our first practice is humble. It is not about achieving a state of enlightenment. It's about performing a gentle, quiet coup on autopilot. It's about reclaiming your attention from the mirage, one sensory anchor at a time. This practice is designed for the in-between moments of your day. It requires no special posture, no silence, no extra time. It's a covert operation for presence. Choose your anchor, select one mundane, ever-present physical sensation you encounter regularly. The feeling of your hands on a steering wheel. The texture of a coffee mug in your palm. The feeling of water on your hands when you wash them. The pressure of your feet inside your shoes as you walk. The specific weight and texture of your phone in your hand. The pledge: for today, you make a pledge. Every single time you encounter that sensation, you will use it not as a trigger for autopilot, but as a trigger for presence. The reset, the moment you feel your chosen anchor, e.g. your palms on the steering wheel, you will stop all internal dialogue for just one full breath cycle. Inhale and exhale once, with 100% of your attention on the physical details of that sensation. If it's the steering wheel, feel its temperature. Is it cool or warm from the sun? Feel its texture. Is it leather, plastic, smooth, grooved? Feel the pressure of your grip. Are your hands tense or relaxed? Notice the subtle vibrations from the road. If it's the coffee mug, feel the heat seeping into your palms. Notice the curve of the handle against your fingers. See the color of the liquid, the rising steam. For one breath, be only with the mug. Then continue, after that one conscious breath, simply carry on. Don't try to feel different, don't judge your success. The goal is not a special feeling. The goal is the act itself. yanking the control yoke from the default mode network's autopilot and flying the plane of your attention manually for 3 seconds. You are training fidelity to reality. You are building a new, robust neural pathway that says, reality is here, in the senses. Safety is here, in the now. Not there, in the stories. Do this 10 times today. You are, in a small but neurologically real way, deconstructing the mirage. You are proving to your own nervous system, through direct experience, that you are already where you need to be. Your most challenging patterns, the hair-trigger temper, the bottomless well of worry, the critical inner voice that feels like a permanent resident, often wear the disguise of personality. They feel like fundamental flaws in the core of you. But what if you are less a solitary author writing on a blank page, and more a vast, ancient library? A library containing not only your own life's work but countless volumes penned by generations before you, manuals for survival written in a language of emotion and reflex. Consider the story of Mateo. Mateo grew up in a family of fishermen in the port of Valparaiso, Chile. For generations, their survival was a daily negotiation with a volatile and magnificent ocean. This environment didn't just shape their jobs. It shaped their nervous systems, forging a specific emotional and behavioral code. Stoic silence in the face of fear, showing panic could unravel the entire crew's focus. The code said, internalize the terror, Project Calm. Swift, decisive anger at mistakes, a frayed line, a lazy knot, a moment of inattention could mean death. The code said, mistakes are threats, meet them with immediate, sharp correction to ensure they never happen again. A deep, unspoken melancholy. The sea giveth and the sea taketh away. The code held a permanent, low-grade grief for fathers, brothers, and sons lost to the waves, a sadness that needed no words. This wasn't a chosen personality. It was an inherited operating system, brilliantly adapted to the environment of the open Pacific. It was the essential software for their version of life. Mateo moved to Santiago to become a data analyst. His dangers were now statistical errors, demanding clients, and the impersonal noise of a sprawling city. Yet, when a colleague pointed out a minor miscalculation in his spreadsheet, his nervous system didn't respond with mild professional irritation. It executed the full, ancient protocol of the fishing boat, a hot surge of shame, the stoic facade cracking, followed by a flash of sharp, disproportionate anger at the colleague, the swift strike against the life-threatening mistake. Which then curdled into a familiar, heavy sadness by the end of the day. He experienced this intense cycle as a personal failure, a proof of his own uncontrollable and flawed nature. He felt broken. The shift came not from taming his reaction, but from tracing its source. During a particularly vicious self-critical spiral after a work error, a new thought arose, born of his love for his family's history. A memory surfaced of his grandfather's face, not angry, but deadly serious, barking an order during a sudden squall. The thought was, "This is not my voice. This is the voice of my abuelo, standing on the deck in a storm, shouting to be heard over the wind. It is in my bones. It is trying to keep the boat afloat." This was the key. He wasn't broken, he was running powerful, ancestral software in the wrong context. The shame anger sadness sequence wasn't him. It was inherited code trying to execute its prime directive: ensure survival. Maintain the vessel. Protect the crew. The boat was now his career. The crew was his sense of self-worth. The storm was a spreadsheet error. With this insight, his task changed. He didn't have to fight the program, which only caused system crashes of anxiety and depression. He needed to become the conscious programmer. The next time the code triggered a flash of heat in his chest at a perceived slight from his manager, he did something new. He paused. He placed a hand over his heart. He said silently, with the respect one gives to an elder who has lived through harder times, "Ah. The captain's code is activating. It senses a threat to the vessel. It is preparing a strong response. I acknowledge the alert. Thank you for your vigilance. But check the sensors, we are in an office. The vessel is safe. No one is in physical danger. We can respond with a clarifying email, not a harpoon." He didn't suppress the feeling. He honored its origin and then fed it updated data. He stood in the conscious present, observing the old program run its diagnostic without hitting execute. The heat in his chest didn't vanish, but it stopped demanding he shout. It became a signal to be understood, not a command to be obeyed. This is not just a metaphor. It is mirrored in the rigorous science of intergenerational trauma. Landmark studies, such as those on descendants of Holocaust survivors, refugees, or survivors of severe famine, show that the physiological and psychological effects of trauma can be transmitted across generations. This isn't just through stories or learned behaviors, though that is a part, but through altered stress response systems, like a hyperreactive HPA axis, specific parenting patterns, and even epigenetic markers. Chemical tags on DNA that influence how genes are expressed without changing the genetic code itself. A grandparent's profound fear can influence a grandchild's baseline anxiety. The body, quite literally, keeps the score and passes the sheet music on. But the science also contains the profound hope of neuroplasticity and epigenetic change. The brain and gene expression are not carved in stone. They are responsive, living processes. New, repeated experiences. Like the conscious, repeated choice to respond with mindful awareness instead of autopilot, can forge new neural pathways. They can send new signals to our cellular machinery, potentially influencing how those inherited genes express themselves. You are not condemned to merely run the old code on a loop. You can learn its language, debug its errors for your current environment, and write new, more adaptive scripts for the next generation. Your defensiveness, your fear of scarcity, your deep-seated belief you are too much or not enough, your inability to rest, see them not as moral failings or unchangeable personality traits. See them as ancient, loyal algorithms. They were installed by ancestors who lived in a world of different, often life or death threats, of literal predators, of genuine food scarcity, of social exile meaning literal peril. Your work is not to angrily delete the algorithm, which often causes a system-wide crash of depression or dissociation. Your work is to open the source code with compassion, to understand its original, protective purpose, and to gently, patiently write updates for the safer, more connected, complex world you actually inhabit. This is a practical, in-the-moment exercise for when you're caught in a strong, familiar, and unpleasant reaction. The pause and name. When you feel the wave hit, the flush of anger, the icy withdrawal, the scramble of anxiety, literally say, out loud if possible, or with strong internal force, pattern. This one word acts as a mental circuit breaker. It instantly creates a critical sliver of space between you, the aware observer, and the reaction, the running code. The forensic question, ask with the calm curiosity of a detective or archivist, what is the oldest version of this feeling I can remember? Don't force an answer. Close your eyes for a moment. Let an early memory surface. A time in childhood, or young adulthood, where you felt this same exact flavor of anger, shame, or fear. Just observe the memory. Who was there? What was happening? Identify the old logic, see if you can discern the survival logic at play in that older moment. Was the anger protecting a deep vulnerability from exposure? Was the fear trying to force you to prepare for a threat? Was the silence or people-pleasing avoiding a conflict that felt dangerous? Name the old logic simply. The logic here is, showing hurt leads to more hurt, or, the logic is, perfect performance is the only way to be safe/loved. Thank the old protector, sincerely, silently say, thank you for trying to protect that younger me. That logic made sense in that world, in that moment. This is the crucial step of disarming the code. You are acknowledging its positive intent, even as you prepare to update its methods. State the new reality, finally, bring the code up to date. Tell it, we are safe now. I am an adult. I have resources. I can handle this feeling. I can choose a different response. This practice doesn't erase the pattern overnight. It begins the slow, vital process of transferring it from the dark, unseen basement of unconscious, automated reaction to the well-lit study of conscious, understood personal history. You are not fighting your inheritance. You are integrating it, which is the only way to truly be free from its unconscious grip. When emotional storms hit, we typically have two default responses. We either try to outrun the storm, through distraction, numbing, frantic positive thinking, or we become the storm, full identification, unleashing rage, collapsing into helplessness. Both responses share a faulty assumption, that the emotion is the entirety of the territory. That there is no you separate from the hurricane of feeling. There is a third way. It is to become the cartographer. The cartographer's role is not to change the territory, nor to be consumed by it. Their purpose is to map it. To observe, measure, and chart the landscape of the experience itself with curiosity and precision. This is the essence of mindfulness applied to emotion, the shift from feeling differently to relating to feeling differently. I learned this not from a monk, but from a glaciologist named Ellen, who spent entire seasons alone in a research hut on the Greenland ice sheet. Her life's work was to map the subtle, monumental movements of glaciers, their slow creep, their deep creaks and groans, their dramatic calving of icebergs into the sea. She told me the greatest danger in her work wasn't the extreme cold or the profound isolation. It was the psychological danger of losing her objective, observational stance. If you start to see the glacier as a malevolent force, she said, or worse, if you start to feel its immense, ancient, indifferent movement as a personal threat, you will make terrible decisions. You'll rush, you'll misread data, you'll panic. Your sanity and safety depend on remembering, I am not the glacier. I am here to map the glacier. One brutal winter, a hurricane-force storm pinned her in the hut for 5 days. The wind screamed like a living thing trying to tear the metal roof off. The entire structure shook and shuddered. Seawater and ice slammed against the thick, triple-paned windows. Fear was a physical presence in the small room with her. Instead of fighting it or drowning in it, she did what she was exquisitely trained to do, she began to map her own internal territory. In her weathered field journal, next to her ice core measurements, she began an entry. 0700 HRS. Fear presents as high tension in trapezius muscles, drawing shoulders to ears. Jaw clenched. Mental narrative channel, structural failure of the hut is imminent. 0900 HRS, fear has shifted location. Primary sensation now a cold, sloshing nausea in the abdomen. Mental narrative, you will never be found. This is how it ends. 1100 hours, sensation is now a vibrating ache in the limbs, like a tuning fork. Underneath, I detect a secondary layer, raw, undifferentiated loneliness. She didn't judge these entries. She didn't write, I shouldn't be afraid, or, this is silly. She recorded them as pure data points, with the same detachment she used to record ice density. And in the act of meticulous, compassionate cartography, something fundamental shifted. The fear didn't disappear, but it lost its monolithic, all-consuming, I am, quality. It became a weather system she was tracking within the larger, stable territory of her own witnessing awareness. She was the map, the mapper, and the stable ground upon which both existed. The storm, both outside and inside, eventually passed. Her hut held. Your anger, your grief, your obsessive anxiety, they are your inner glaciers, your emotional weather systems. They are powerful. They move. They can feel overwhelming and threaten to erase the landscape of your identity. Your practice is to become their cartographer. When the storm of anxiety hits about an upcoming presentation, don't just get lost in the what-if tornado. Pull out your mental notebook. Sensation coordinates. Where do I feel this in my body? A fluttering, caged bird feeling in the chest. A constricting band around the throat. A hollow pit in the stomach. Thought topography. What is the headline running on the mind's repetitive ticker tape? You will fail and be permanently humiliated. They will see you are a fraud. Emotional layer cake. What might be beneath the surface layer? Often, beneath anxiety lies care. I care deeply about doing well, about contributing. Beneath anger often lies love or a sense of justice. I love this person/this principle, and I perceive it to be threatened. Beneath numbness often lies overwhelmed sensitivity. By mapping the experience, you achieve two transformative things. First, you create critical distance. You are not the fluttering in your chest. You are the aware space noticing the fluttering. This is the foundation of emotional freedom. Second, you often discover the hidden, noble, or vulnerable intention beneath the distressing surface emotion. You are not trying to melt the glacier or stop the weather. You are learning its true contours, its composition, its majestic and often painful reality. And in that deep knowing, its power to sweep you wholly away, to make you believe you are the storm, diminishes. This is a rapid response cartography for when an emotion feels overwhelming and immediate. Point 1. Body scan, 30 seconds. Close your eyes if you can. Take one deep breath. Now, scan from the crown of your head down to your toes. Ask, where is the epicenter of this feeling in my physical body right now? Don't get detailed, find the one or two places of most intense sensation. Acknowledge them. Heat in the face. Tight band around the forehead. Heavy stone on the chest. Just note the location and the primary quality: heat, pressure, tightness, vibration. Point 2. Thought label, 30 seconds. Listen to the most dominant, repetitive thought. Now, give it a simple, almost bureaucratic label. Strip it of its personal, convincing story. Don't say, I'm a failure who will end up alone. Say, the catastrophic failure narrative is playing. Don't say, this is unbearable. Say, the this is unbearable story is on repeat. This labels the weather pattern without buying a ticket to live inside it. Point 3. Need identification, 30 seconds. Ask gently, if this emotional weather system had a message about an unmet need, what might it be? Don't overthink. Let the first word arise. Is it a need for safety? For respect? For rest? For connection? For autonomy? Don't judge the need. Simply identify it. The need here seems to be for reassurance. The need here seems to be for a boundary. This entire process takes about 90 seconds. It does not solve your external problem. It solves the internal problem of being completely identified with the problem. It reinstates you, firmly and quickly, as the cartographer of your inner world. You are no longer a lost traveler in a blizzard. You have a map, a compass, and the knowledge that you are the one holding them. The storm may still rage, but you are no longer blind within it. For nearly 4 decades, a philosophy teacher named Li Wei lived in a state of profound exile. He had left Shanghai as a young, promising scholar, and the shifting political winds of his era had swung shut the door behind him, locking him out. In the West, he built a distinguished academic career. He learned new languages, formed deep friendships, and even started a family. Yet, a fundamental sense of dislocation was his silent, constant companion. He would wake in the gray, damp dawn of a Brussels winter, and in the disorienting seconds before full consciousness, not know where he was. The longing for the specific sounds of his childhood, the clatter of mahjong tiles from a neighboring apartment, the call of the morning soup vendor in the alley below, wasn't just a memory, it was a taste in his mouth, an ache in the bones of his face. He dreamt, with heartbreaking regularity, of walking the narrow, wet hutongs of the old neighborhood. He would turn a familiar corner, see his family's green wooden doorway, his heart swelling with the unbearable relief of return, only to wake as his dream hand reached for the handle. The loss was fresh each time. For years, he believed the emotional equation was simple and absolute: exile equals suffering. Home equals peace. Therefore, peace was impossible. His intellectual understanding of philosophy offered no balm for this visceral, daily pain. His healing began not when his circumstances changed, but when he dared to question the most basic term in that equation: home. Through his continued practice of quiet sitting, zazen, and his study of phenomenology, he began to notice a subtle but crucial conflation. He was equating a geographical location with a state of being. He was waiting for a place in the external world to grant him an internal feeling that could only ever be generated from within. He realized, with a shock of clarity, that he wasn't just homesick for Shanghai. He was homesick for a feeling, of belonging, of being at rest, of being undefended and whole. And he had mistakenly parked that feeling in a memory of a place. So, he began a gentle, subversive, and initially foolish-feeling practice. With each breath, as he sat on his cushion in his Belgian living room, he would silently say, "On the inhale, I have arrived. On the exhale, I am home." At first, the words felt like a beautiful lie, a wish whispered defiantly against all the evidence of his senses. How can I be home in this rented flat with its unfamiliar smells? How can I have arrived when I am so profoundly, legally, geographically away? But he persisted. Not as an act of blind belief or positive affirmation, but as a rigorous experiment in attention. I have arrived. Where? He would feel into the question. In this body, sitting on this cushion. In this room, with its particular rectangle of gray light falling on the floor. With this breath, entering and leaving, in this very moment. Arrival, he discovered, is not the triumphant end of a long journey. It is the quality of attention you bring to your current coordinates. It is the decision to stop mentally leaning toward Shanghai or away from Brussels, and to stand, fully upright and receptive, in the undeniable reality of here. Of Brussels. Of this breath. Of now. I am home. What is this home? It was not the apartment in Shanghai. That was a beautiful memory, a place he loved. The home he was speaking of was the consistent, aware presence he could access anywhere, the steady, luminous consciousness that witnessed the memories of Shanghai, the experience of Brussels, the dreams of alleyways, the feeling of the breath, the ache of longing itself. He called this the unshakable hearth. This hearth wasn't made of brick or memory. Its fire was the simple, undeniable fact of awareness itself, the capacity to know, to feel, to be. No political decree could extinguish it. No border could block it. It was always burning, an internal flame of pure consciousness, waiting for him to stop searching outside and simply sit beside it. As this understanding moved from a fascinating concept in his mind to a lived, bodily truth, a knowing in his cells, a quiet miracle occurred. The dreams of the Shanghai Hutong stopped. Not because he stopped loving Shanghai, but because the desperate, clinging need for it had been fulfilled at a deeper level. The acute, piercing homesickness softened into a tender, bittersweet love for a place he missed, a love that no longer carried the dagger of "if only." He had found a home that was completely portable, utterly secure, and more real than any address. Years later, when political changes finally allowed him to return to Shanghai as a visitor, he walked those alleyways. He felt joy, nostalgia, a deep sense of connection. But he did not feel the desperate clinging, the panic that it would be taken from him again. He had brought his home with him. He realized, with a smile, that he had not been exiled from home. He had been exiled into a deeper, truer understanding of where home actually is. This practice is the core, the very heartwood, of our work together. Your breath is the tether line that always connects you to the anchor of your body. And your body is never in the past. It is never in the future. It is always, only, in the ever-unfolding, ever-present now. No matter how far your thoughts travel into the stormy seas of regret or the anxious fog of future worries, you can always feel that tether. You can always, in any moment, choose to follow it, hand over hand, back to the solid, real deck of the present moment. This is your portable sanctuary. You can practice it on a park bench, in your car before going into the supermarket, at your desk before a meeting, in bed before sleep. Posture: sit with dignity. Let your spine be like a stack of coins, balanced and upright, not rigid. Rest your hands palms down on your knees or thighs. Gently lower your gaze to a spot on the floor about 4 feet in front of you, or softly close your eyes. The anchor: bring 80% of your attention to the physical fact of breathing. Don't control it. Just feel it. Feel the air cool at the nostrils or the back of the throat on the inhale. Feel the chest or belly gently expand. Feel the warmer air leaving on the exhale. Feel the tiny, natural pause at the end of the out-breath. This sensation is your anchor in the sea of the present. The mantra of return: on the inhale, mentally say the words, "I have arrived." Feel the truth of the statement as you breathe in. You are arriving, now, in this body. Not later when you finish your work. Not when you solve your problems. Now. With this breath. The declaration of truth: on the exhale, mentally say the words, "I am home." Feel the truth of it as you breathe out. This aware, breathing space, the very consciousness that is reading these words, hearing these sounds, is your fundamental and indestructible dwelling. It cannot be taken, lost, or left behind. Wandering and returning, your mind will wander. It will drift to a planning, a worry, a memory, a fantasy. This is inevitable. It is what minds do. The magic of the practice is not in preventing the wandering. The magic is in the moment you notice you have wandered. That moment of noticing, I'm lost in thought about tomorrow's meeting, is itself a powerful, instantaneous arrival. It is a flash of awareness coming home. When you notice, gently, without any self-criticism, "I'm bad at this. Escort your attention back to the physical sensation of the breath and the words, arrived. Home. Duration, set a timer for 5 minutes. Your goal is not emptiness, bliss, or a blank mind. Your goal is to practice the action of homecoming, over and over. Each return of attention is a victory. Each is a neural repetition, a gentle message to your entire being. True safety resides here, in aware presence. Practice this in the morning before you check your phone. Practice it last thing at night as you lie in bed. Practice it in the elevator, in the line at the post office. You are not withdrawing from life. You are fortifying the home base, the unshakable hearth, from which you meet all of life. We have spoken of inherited patterns as code and as weather. Now let's consider them as the very material from which our reactions are formed. This material can feel hard, cold, and unworkable. Like clay that has been left out and has set into a predetermined, brittle shape. We think, this is just how I am. I have a quick temper. I'm a worrier. Mindfulness is the water that makes this emotional clay pliable again. Awareness is the potter's wheel that allows us to reshape it. Amina was a master ceramicist in the ancient city of Fez, Morocco, and she taught me this in her small studio, her hands perpetually dusted with fine, red clay from the local riverbank. She worked on a traditional foot-kick wheel, a rhythm as old as civilization. She explained that the clay's consistency is everything. Too dry, she said, pressing a lump that crumbled at the edges, and it cracks under pressure. You cannot make anything from it but dust. Too wet, she pointed to a soggy mass, and it collapses. It has no integrity. The water, she said, sprinkling just a few drops onto the dry clay and beginning to knead, is not the enemy of the clay. It is what makes it capable of becoming something new. It is what makes it responsive. She then told me about her own inheritance. Her grandmother, a formidable woman who had raised 6 children through war and poverty, had a primary reaction to stress that was as hard as fired pottery, a cold, cutting silence that could last for days. It was a wall. Amina found this same reactive clay in herself. When her husband would travel for work, instead of expressing her loneliness or asking for reassurance, she would instinctively retreat into a frosty, uncommunicative shell. Her silence would push him away, ironically recreating the very abandonment she feared. She hated this pattern, but trying to be different felt like trying to mold that dry, brittle clay. It just shattered into more frustration and self-loathing. Her transformation began when she started to see her reactive silence not as her essential self, but as the raw material she had been given. The cold silence was the inherited clay. Her mindful awareness was the water. One evening, feeling the familiar withdrawal begin as her husband packed his suitcase, she did something radical. She went to her studio, sat before a lump of real clay, and allowed herself to feel the full, painful texture of the emotion. Not as a story, he leaves me, so I must protect myself, but as physical sensation, a heavy, cold lump in her stomach, a tightness in her throat that wanted to close, a hardening around her heart. Instead of acting from it, the silence, or fighting it, forcing cheerful words she didn't feel, she simply began to wedge the emotional clay, as a potter wedges physical clay to remove air bubbles and achieve uniform consistency. She breathed into the cold lump in her gut. She acknowledged its presence with curiosity. So, this is the old silence. This is its weight, its temperature. And as she did, with the warmth of her non-judgmental attention, the internal clay began to soften slightly. It became less brittle. The raw material of cold silence began to reveal itself to be composed of finer, more workable grains, fear of abandonment, pride that wouldn't admit need, and beneath it all, a deep love that felt terrifyingly vulnerable. With this softer, more pliable material, she could then choose a new shape. She didn't have to create a masterpiece of communication. She simply took her phone and shaped a small, honest form from the newly workable material. She texted, "I feel a bit quiet and sad when you pack. I'll miss you." It was not an accusation. It was not a demand. It was a sharing of the shaped clay, an honest expression of the vulnerable material beneath the hardened reaction. Her husband's warm, understanding reply, "I'll miss you too. Let's video call every evening," was the kiln that fired this new form into a lasting change in their pattern. The old, brittle shape of cold silence had been recycled into a new, more beautiful, and functional form, connected communication. Your reactive anger, your defensive sarcasm, your anxious need to control, your spiral of shame, these are not you. They are the inherited, unworked, or poorly fired clay of your emotional life. Trying to smash the clay, repression, self-hatred, is exhausting and messy. Trying to build with it when it's dry, forcing yourself to be positive, leads to fragile, cracked results that don't hold. Your practice is to bring the steady, gentle water of non-judgmental awareness to it. To knead it with your attention until it becomes pliable, until you can feel its true composition, the fear, the love, the need, the hope beneath the hardened surface. Then, and only then, can you place it on the wheel of conscious choice and begin to shape it into something more beautiful, more functional, and more true for the life you are living now. This is a practice for the moment you feel a hard, reactive emotion forming, when you feel yourself about to snap, withdraw, or spiral. Pause at the first sign. At the first flush of heat, anger, or the first wave of cold withdrawal, hurt, or the first flutter of panic, stop. If you are with someone, it is perfectly okay to say, "Give me just a moment, I need to collect myself," and step away for 60 seconds. Locate the physical clay. Close your eyes. Ask, where is the primary sensation of this reaction in my body? Give it a shape and a texture in your mind. A hard, hot, jagged brick in my chest. A cold, slick, heavy ball in my gut. A buzzing, vibrating sheet behind my eyes. Breathe into the texture. For 3 slow breaths, imagine your breath as warm water or as gentle, skilled hands kneading that exact spot. You are not trying to dissolve the clay or make it disappear. You are trying to change its consistency from brittle and unmalleable to workable and responsive. Ask for the components. Silently ask the softened material, "What are you made of?" Let simple words arise. Is it pride? Fear? Love? Exhaustion? Grief? Loneliness? Just name the components without judgment. Choose a simple, true shape. Now, with this slightly softer, more conscious material, ask, what is one tiny, genuine shape I can make with this? It might be a single, true sentence spoken aloud or to yourself. I feel really overwhelmed right now. It might be a small action of self-care, making a cup of tea, stepping outside for 1 minute of fresh air. It is not a dramatic resolution, it is a small, authentic movement from reactivity toward response. This practice moves you from being a prisoner of the raw, reactive material to becoming the conscious artisan of your emotional world. You learn you have a choice in the shaping. Imagine you are appointed the keeper of a lighthouse on a wild, remote coast, somewhere like the shores of Newfoundland, the cliffs of Big Sur, or the storm-lashed Hebrides. Your duty is clearly defined, and it is not what most people assume. Your duty is not to calm the ocean. You cannot command the waves to be still or the gales to dissipate. The sea will do what it has done for eons. Your duty is not to personally rescue every foundering ship, though your light may guide them to safety. Sailors make their own choices. Your primary, non-negotiable duty is singular, to keep the light burning. To maintain the complex mechanism, to trim the wick or check the electrical bulb, to ensure the great Fresnel lens is clean, and to guarantee that through the darkest night and the most violent, screaming gale, a steady, rhythmic beam cuts through the chaos. It offers a fixed point of reference, a truth in the tumult. Here is the rock. Here is the shore. Navigate accordingly. Your awareness is that light. Your thoughts, your turbulent emotions, the external crises of your life, these are the ocean. They will have their storms. Squalls of rage will blow in. Dense fogs of confusion will descend. Tsunamis of grief may arise. Your practice is not to stop the storms of life. That is impossible, and attempting it is a recipe for exhaustion and despair. Your practice is to keep the light of your conscious attention lit, especially when the winds of anxiety howl and the waves of fear crash against the windows of your mind. I heard this philosophy lived out by an old keeper on the coast of Maine, USA. He described a winter hurricane so powerful he believed the solid granite tower itself would be shaken apart. The noise was a deafening, living roar. Solid green seawater slammed against the thick glass of the lantern room, hundreds of feet above the waves. He admitted he was terrified, a deep, primal fear in his gut. But his training took over. His fear became a background note, not the conductor of the symphony. He repeatedly climbed the narrow, spiraling iron stairs to the lamp room. He checked the pressure of the kerosene fuel, wiped salt spray from the priceless glass lens with a soft cloth, and listened, ear pressed to the housing, for the steady, reassuring click-or-click of the rotation mechanism. The simple, physical acts of tending the light, the rituals of his purpose, became his anchor. He wasn't denying the storm, he was fulfilling his essential role within it. He told me, I wasn't brave. I was just doing my job. The job was the light. The storm was the storm. My fear was just, weather inside the tower. I had a lamp to tend. When emotional weather hits you, the hurricane of rage, the freezing fog of depression, the torrential downpour of helpless grief, remember your posting. You are the lighthouse keeper. Your primary duty is not to stop the feeling, you can't, nor to let the feeling extinguish your light by becoming completely identified with it. I am the storm. Your duty is to perform the maintenance rituals that keep the beacon of awareness burning. Trim the wick, this is your breath. When the storm hits, take 3 conscious, deep, slow breaths. This isn't to calm down, but to clear the smoke of panic from the glass, to ensure the flame of attention has oxygen. Clean the lens, this is sensory grounding. Feel your feet flat on the floor. Listen to one actual, physical sound in the room right now. The hum of a fridge, the tick of a clock, the sound of your own breath. Wipe away the salt spray of distorted, catastrophic thoughts by touching simple, undeniable reality. Check the mechanism, this is checking your intention. Ask yourself, what is my intention right now? Is it to weather this with awareness, or to be destroyed by it? Is it to understand this storm, or to become it? Reaffirm, my intention is to keep the light on. This inner light does not solve all your external problems. But it prevents you from crashing on the rocks of total, unconscious reactivity, despair, or harmful action. It allows you to see the contours of your own suffering clearly, to navigate from a place of inner reference and stability, not from the chaos of the outer storm. You may not be able to guide every ship, every troubling thought to safe harbor, but you will not add to the shipwreck by becoming another piece of helpless, drifting debris in the storm. You remain a fixed point. A truth. A light. This is a standing practice to embody the metaphor of the lighthouse. Stand tall, stand with your feet hip-width apart, knees slightly soft. Imagine roots growing from the soles of your feet, deep down into the bedrock of the earth. Feel your connection to the ground, your foundation. Be the tower. Feel your spine lengthening, the crown of your head lifting gently toward the sky. Your shoulders are relaxed, arms hanging softly at your sides. You are the stable, granite tower, built to withstand millennia of weather. Light the lamp, bring your attention to the center of your chest, the area of your heart. Imagine a warm, steady, gentle light glowing there, your lamp. With each inhale, feel the light grow a little brighter, fed by the oxygen of your breath. With each exhale, imagine that light radiating out from you in all directions, a calm, clear beacon. Acknowledge the weather. As you stand, thoughts and feelings will arise, the weather. Instead of fighting them, simply acknowledge them. Ah, a thought about work. That's a passing cloud. A feeling of restlessness. That's a gust of wind. Imagine these clouds and winds passing through the space around your solid tower, without moving the tower itself. The light remains constant. Return to the breath. Whenever you get lost in the weather, gently return your attention to the feeling of your feet on the ground and the imagined light in your chest. Stand like this for 3 minutes. You are not trying to be empty, you are practicing being stable and luminous, regardless of the internal climate. Modern life is a masterclass in consumption. We consume food, information, entertainment, experiences, often at high speed, with divided attention. We eat lunch while scrolling through work emails. We listen to podcasts while commuting, the world a blur outside the window. We half watch a show while half talking to a family member. This chronic, fractured attention is not just a bad habit, it is a primary source of a subtle, pervasive, and deeply painful hunger, a hunger for reality itself. We are starved for our own lives. We ingest the world but are never truly nourished by it. There is a radical alternative: communion. Communion happens when you turn a daily act from a consumption event into a full sensory, participatory relationship. You move from being a passive consumer to an active celebrant in the ordinary sacrament of being alive. You don't just take in, you meet, you engage, you marry your attention to the moment. My most profound teacher in this art was not a monk or a philosopher, but a baker in a small, forgotten village in rural Provence, France. Every morning at 4 a.m., under a cloak of stars, he began his silent ritual. He first showed me how he would simply stand in the center of his stone-floored kitchen for 5 full minutes, doing nothing but breathing in the quiet. He called it listening to the room wake up. Then, he would feel the flour between his fingers before ever measuring it, noting its fine, cool, almost silken texture, the dust of last summer's wheat. He would listen for the specific, clean crack of each egg against the lip of the porcelain bowl, a sound he swore was different every single time, like a voice. He would watch the yeast foam in the warm water, a silent, happy miracle, he called it, the awakening of invisible life. He didn't just make bread, he conducted a symphony of the senses. For him, kneading the dough was a decades-long conversation with gluten, a meditation on resistance and surrender, reading the dough's needs through his palms. The smell of the baking loaves was not just a precursor to eating, it was the climax of the symphony's third movement, the moment the music swelled and filled the entire concert hall. People eat too fast, he told me once, his eyes sad. They consume. They missed the 100 conversations that brought the bread to their mouth. The conversation between the sun and the wheat, the rain and the soil, the miller and the stone, the fire and the brick of the oven. When you eat, he said, placing a warm, golden bowl in my hands, you should be the final, grateful note in that symphony. You should listen for all the other notes that came before. That week, eating his bread each morning, I tried. I would hold the warm, weighty slice. I would listen to the crust crackle and sing under the gentle pressure of my fingers. I would inhale the deep, complex aroma, not just bread smell, but the scent of fermentation, of caramelized sugars, of earth and heat. I would feel its slight, crisp resistance before my teeth broke through, then the soft, cloud-like, yielding interior. I would taste not just bread, but 100 sunlit days in a French field, a long, patient night of rising, the searing kiss of the oak-fired oven, the generations of care in the baker's hands. A simple breakfast became a communion with the entire chain of existence that culminated in that moment. The vague, nagging hunger for something more that usually followed me through the day was satisfied. Not by more food, but by more depth of experience. By presence. You can perform this alchemy with absolutely anything. You don't need French bread. You need your senses, and your attention. Drinking tea or coffee, feel the warmth of the cup seeping into your palms. Watch the steam curl and dance in a shaft of light. See the unique color of the liquid, the deep amber of tea, the rich black-brown of coffee. Smell its fragrance. Is it grassy, floral, smoky, bold? Taste its first, second, and third notes on your tongue. You are not just hydrating or consuming caffeine, you are in communion with leaf or bean, water, earth, and fire. Walking to your car or the bus stop, feel the lift and fall of each foot, the subtle shift of weight. Hear the sound of your steps on gravel, pavement, or grass. See the play of light and shadow through the leaves, or on the buildings. You are not just transporting your body from point A to B, you are in a dynamic, sensory dialogue with the earth and the air. Listening to someone you love, see the light catch in their eyes as they speak. Hear not just their words, but the timbre of their voice, the warmth, the hesitation, the joy. Feel the emotional atmosphere in the space between you. You are not just processing information for your reply, you are in communion with another human soul. In communion, you are fed by reality itself. You realize you are not a separate, lonely self navigating a world of inert objects to be consumed. You are a node in a vibrant, sensuous, infinitely interconnected web. The gnawing sense of lack that drives so much of our compulsive consumption begins to dissolve, not because you get everything you want, but because you discover the profound fullness of what is already, abundantly, miraculously here. Choose one utterly routine, daily activity today. It could be making your morning coffee, petting your dog, looking out a window, or even washing a single dish. The pause of intention. Before you begin, stop completely. Place your hands on the counter, or still your body. Take 3 slow, conscious breaths. Set the intention, for the next minute, I will do only this. I will meet this. Engage all senses deliberately. Perform the activity with slow, exaggerated sensory attention. If making coffee, listen to the gurgle and hiss of the machine as if it were a strange and wonderful engine. Watch the dark liquid drip and pool, observing its opacity, its movement. Inhale the rich, bitter, complex aroma deeply. Feel the warmth of the mug in your hands, its curve, its weight. If petting your dog, feel the specific texture of the fur under your fingers, coarse, soft, wiry. Feel the warmth of the living body, the rhythm of its breathing. See the way the light plays on the colors of its coat. Be fully present for the animal's simple, receiving, trusting presence. If looking out a window, see, truly see. Don't label, tree, car, sky. See the patterns of branches against the clouds. See the specific color of the light. Notice movement, a leaf twitching, a shadow shifting. Listen to the soundscape coming through the glass. Dedicate the moment. Silently say, for this 1 minute, I am only here. I am in communion with this. Let it end naturally. When you feel the minute is up, or set a gentle timer, let the activity transition. feel the residue of that full attention. A slight afterglow of calm, connection, and presence, and carry that feeling, like a scent on your clothes, into your next moment. You are retraining your nervous system. You are teaching it that nourishment, peace, and satisfaction are found not in the quantity or novelty of what you consume, but in the depth and quality of your attention to what is already before you. We are, as a species, addicted to certainty. We crave it like a plant in a dark room strains toward a crack of light. We want to know the outcome, the answer, the plan. We want guarantees for our health, our relationships, our careers, our happiness. Yet, the fundamental, non-negotiable nature of life is uncertainty. The painful gap between our deep desire for a guaranteed future and the reality of maybe is the very soil in which anxiety builds its deepest roots. What if we could learn a different relationship with the unknown? Not as victims of its randomness, but as gardeners of maybe. A gardener understands her true power. She does not control the weather. She cannot command the sun to shine or the rain to fall on her schedule. She cannot guarantee that every single seed will sprout, or that no pest will ever visit. Her power lies not in control, but in skillful preparation, tender, consistent care, and a deep, abiding relationship with the process itself. She finds joy in the feel of the soil crumbling through her fingers, the miraculous emergence of the first green shoot from the dark earth, the daily ritual of watering and observing, not just in the harvest. The harvest is a gift, a collaboration with forces far greater than herself, not a guaranteed wage for her labor. Consider Hiro, a third-generation master bonsai artist living in a quiet neighborhood of Kyoto. His art form is perhaps the ultimate human practice of gardening, maybe. He works with living trees, pine, maple, juniper, beings that grow in their own time, respond to their own internal rhythms, and have their own stubborn will. A single styling decision, the bending of one primary branch, might take a full year of observation and consideration before he even touches a wire. He explained it to me over bitter matcha. The Western mind often sees the tree as material, like clay, to make a shape. I do not see myself as making a shape. I see myself as a companion, helping the tree reveal its own most beautiful shape over the span of a century. My job is to listen to its maybe. Will this branch thrive if I bend it this way? Maybe. Will this new pot suit its spirit? Maybe. I must hold the question, not force the answer. I must wait for the tree to speak. He described how, in his arrogant youth, his anxiety to create perfect, award-winning trees was his greatest enemy. He would force dramatic bends, over-prune in a single session, desperate for a specific, immediate outcome. The trees, under such strain, often became sick, or worse, died. His wisdom, and his true artistry, emerged when he learned to sit with the maybe. To observe a tree for a full cycle of seasons, through cherry blossoms and autumn fires and winter bareness, before doing anything. To make the smallest, most respectful adjustment, and then to wait, sometimes for another full year. Watching for the tree's response. Did it backbud with vigor? Did a new leader emerge? His craft became a silent, decades-long dialogue with uncertainty. The breathtaking beauty of his trees, he said, was not in their technical perfection, but in their evident harmony, a visible record of a long, patient, collaborative conversation between the gardener's intention and the tree's own, mysterious will to live. Your life is your bonsai. You are tending a living, growing, unpredictable process. The big, looming questions: will I find a loving partner? Will my health hold? Will this creative venture succeed? Will my children be happy? Are all maybes. Your anxiety is the part of you that wants to grab the wire and force a bend now, to demand a guarantee, to uproot the seed daily to see if it's growing. The gardener's way is different. When faced with a big maybe, your role shifts from being the frantic architect demanding blueprints to being the patient, observant gardener. Prepare the soil. This is your inner state. You cannot control the weather of life, but you can cultivate the soil of your being. This is your daily practice, the homecoming breath, the sensory anchors, the compassionate cartography of your emotions. Good, fertile, well-tended inner soil grows healthier responses and greater resilience, regardless of the external climate. Plant the seed of intention, not demand. Don't plant the seed of rigid demand, I must get this job. Plant the seed of wise intention, I intend to bring my full, authentic self to the interview process. One is brittle and fears failure. The other is flexible and focuses on the quality of your participation. Water with attention, not obsession. Tend to what is certain, your next breath, your next right action, the small, daily tasks of care for yourself and your immediate world. Water the seed of trust in your own capacity to meet whatever comes, not with a guarantee of a specific outcome, but with resilience. Observe with curiosity, not fear. Watch for sprouts, the small signs of growth or change. An unexpected conversation, a new skill learned, a moment of inner peace amidst the waiting. Don't uproot the seed daily with frantic worry. Observe with the gentle curiosity of a gardener noticing a new leaf. Accept the weather. Some days will be sunny, things go well. Some days will bring storms, setbacks, bad news. The master gardener doesn't curse the rain, she adjusts. She provides shelter for tender seedlings when a frost is coming, knowing she cannot stop the winter. The harvest, the ultimate outcome, is not entirely in your hands. It is a collaboration between your effort and 10,000 other factors you cannot see or control. But your skill as a gardener, your ability to hold the maybe with grace, to find meaning and even joy in the tending itself, and to appreciate whatever fruit does eventually appear, that is your true, unshakable yield. This kind of cultivation yields not just external results, but an inner fortitude that no uncertainty can destroy. When a major uncertainty is consuming your mental space, a medical wait, a job application, a relationship in flux, a financial cliffhanger, begin a dedicated, maybe journal. This is not a diary of worry, it is a tool for conscious gardening. You will need a notebook. Create 3 sections on each page or use a 3-column format. Column 1, the facts page, the garden bed. Here, you write only objective, known facts. No interpretations, no feelings, no predictions. Just data. Asterisk, the interview was on Friday at 2 p.m. The doctor said results take 7 to 10 business days. I sent the manuscript to the editor on the 15th. The bank statement shows X balance. Asterisk, this column roots you in the solid, unassailable ground of what is. Column 2, the weather report, the climate. This column is for your internal weather. This is where feelings and thoughts go, but you report them as phenomena, not truths. Today, anxiety is a high-pressure system, tight in my chest. The thought storm is predicting doom and unemployment. Or, asterisk, today, there's a patch of calm sunlight, a 20-minute walk where I forgot to worry. Asterisk, this externalizes the emotional weather, allowing you to see it as passing conditions, not permanent reality. Column 3, the gardener's log, my tending. This is the most important column. Each day, write one small, concrete action you took to tend your inner garden, wholly independent of the outcome you're waiting for. Asterisk, today, I watered my garden by taking a 20-minute walk in the park without my phone. Today, I pruned the worry by practicing the 3-point map when the panic hit at 3 p.m. Today, I fertilized with compassion by calling a friend just to listen to them. Asterisk. This column focuses your agency on the only thing you can ever truly control, your actions and attitudes in the present moment. It builds evidence for your resilient self. This practice transforms passive, anxious waiting into active, mindful gardening. It builds the muscle of living with maybe. We often approach our flaws, our failures, our past traumas, and our perceived inadequacies as mistakes to be erased, scars to be hidden, or as definitive evidence of a broken self. We strive, often desperately, for a perfect, seamless, monochrome painting of a life, a clean portrait with no messy strokes. But what if wholeness doesn't look like a flawless painting? What if it looks more like a mosaic? In the ancient churches of Ravenna, Italy, some of the most awe-inspiring art in the world are the Byzantine mosaics. They cover vast ceilings and domes with depictions of saints, emperors, and celestial scenes of breathtaking, shimmering beauty. But if you move close, right up to the wall, the sublime image dissolves. What you see are thousands upon thousands of individual tesserae, small, irregular pieces of colored glass, stone, ceramic, and gold leaf. Each piece is sharp-edged, often imperfect on its own. Some are dull, earthy stones. Some are brilliantly reflective glass. Some are backed with real gold. Their power isn't in any single fragment. It's in the way they are arranged, inch by patient inch, by anonymous artisans. Light hits them at a million different angles, making the entire image shimmer with a living, radiant depth that flat paint could never achieve. The gold pieces glow. The dark pieces provide necessary shadow and contrast. Together, they create a luminosity that is greater than the sum of its parts. Your life is this mosaic. Your moments of pure joy and connection are the brilliant gold tesserae. Your failures and heartbreaks are the darker, sharper pieces of stone or smalty glass. Your mundane, ordinary days are the subtle shades of blue and green. The times you were hurt are the deep red fragments. The pattern, the greater image of your life, isn't always clear from where you stand, with your nose pressed against the wall. From that vantage point, it can look and feel like a chaotic, painful, senseless jumble of broken bits. The practice of mindful awareness is the art of becoming the mosaicist of your own life. It is not about replacing the dark pieces with fake gold. It is about learning to step back, to gain a broader perspective, and to see how every single piece. The broken heart, the lost job, the quiet triumph, the daily grind, the searing loss, the moment of forgiveness, fits into a larger, emerging picture that is uniquely and perfectly yours. Integration, not deletion, is the path to wholeness. I met a woman in Mexico City named Sofia, a muralist with a revolutionary technique. She worked exclusively with discarded materials, broken tiles from demolished buildings, shattered mirrors, fragments of pre-Columbian pottery scavenged from dig sites. She created stunning, life-sized portraits from what the city had thrown away. She told me her own story was in her materials. For years, she said, her hands stained with mortar, I saw my past, my addiction, my time on the streets, the people I hurt, as a pile of trash. Something to be swept away, hidden, ashamed of. My recovery began the day I started to see it as my most valuable artistic material. The shame. That was a dark, sharp, obsidian tile. The crushing desperation. That was a rough, ugly piece of terracotta pipe. The moment of surrender, of asking for help. That was a tiny, precious, gleaming fragment of a broken mirror. My work now is to take all of it, every sharp, ugly, painful piece, and set it in the mortar of compassion, in a new pattern that tells the truth. Not a pretty lie, but the beautiful, difficult truth of a life reclaimed. She wasn't celebrating the pain. She was integrating it. By giving it a deliberate, respectful place in the artwork of her identity, it lost its power to define her as garbage. It became part of a grander narrative of resilience, transformation, and hard-won beauty. The dark pieces made the gold ones, the moments of love, clarity, and service that came later, shine all the brighter. The contrast was everything. Your task is the same. Instead of rejecting the parts of your history or personality you dislike, begin to hold them with the curiosity and care of a mosaicist. Gather your pieces, acknowledge them without flinching. This is my piece of grief from that loss. This is my piece of shame from that mistake. This is my piece of courage from the day I spoke up. This is my piece of simple joy from that sunrise. Find the mortar that holds a mosaic together is not rigid cement. It is compassionate, spacious awareness. It is the non-judgmental, accepting space that can hold the sharp piece of anger without being cut by it, that can appreciate the dull piece of boredom for its necessary contrast, that can see the gold piece of love and let it glow. Trust the emerging pattern. You may not see the full, magnificent picture of your life yet. You are still laying pieces. But you can trust that each piece belongs. Your work is not to have a perfect, pre-drawn design from a kit. Your work is to faithfully, patiently place each piece, each experience, each feeling, with as much presence and care as you can muster, and then to let the larger, sacred image of your life reveal itself in time, from a wiser, more compassionate distance. This perspective ends the futile civil war against yourself. You stop trying to amputate parts of your history. You are not a damaged painting needing a clumsy restoration. You are an ongoing, glorious, and unique work of sacred art, being created in real time from the raw, real, and sometimes difficult materials of a fully human life. This is a quiet, writing-based practice for integrating a difficult experience or a perceived flaw. Choose one broken piece. Bring to mind a recent failure, a trait you criticize in yourself, or an old hurt that still feels sharp and separate. Describe it as a mosaic tile. In a journal, write a short, physical description of this experience or trait as if it were a piece of tessera you hold in your hand. Be detailed. The tile of the lost job, a heavy, slate-gray piece, cold to the touch, with one razor-sharp edge. It feels like defeat. The tile of my impatience, a jagged, reddish piece, warm, almost hot, that seems to vibrate with frustrated energy. Find its contrasting partner. Now ask. What quality in me was born, or strengthened, in response to this piece? Did the failure foster humility or determination? Did the hurt reveal a profound capacity for love? Did the flaw force you to develop patience or self-compassion? This quality is your contrasting tile. Write its description. Next to it, I place the tile of humility, a smoother, matte stone, cool and grounding. With it, I place the tile of fierce love, a small, deeply glowing piece of gold glass. Set it in mortar. Write one sentence of compassionate, acknowledging mortar to set these pieces in. This is not approval of the pain, but recognition of its place in your wholeness. I set this tile of the lost job in the mortar of understanding. It was an ending that felt like death, and it made space for a beginning I could not yet see. I set this tile of my impatience in the mortar of curiosity. It is the energy of my care, sometimes moving too fast. I will work with its heat. This practice doesn't erase pain or excuse poor behavior. It begins the alchemical process of integration, of taking the raw, scattered fragments of your experience and beginning to see them as essential components of a complex, beautiful, and complete whole. You move from seeing yourself as a pile of broken shards to seeing yourself as a mosaic in progress. Your mind is not a monarchy ruled by a single, rational king. It is not a democracy where the loudest voice wins. It is closer to a community, a sometimes chaotic, often contentious committee of distinct voices, each with its own perspective, needs, and agenda. There's the inner critic, sharp, precise, focused on flaws. The worrier, the doomsday prognosticator, constantly forecasting disaster. The inner child, needy, playful, creative, or scared. The people pleaser, desperate for approval and harmony. The pessimist. The optimist. The taskmaster, the relentless driver. The quiet sage, wise, patient, seeing the big picture. The protector, guarded, defensive. The dreamer. Most of the time, they all talk at once. Or one hijacks the microphone, often the critic or the worrier, and shouts the others down. This internal cacophony, this committee meeting with no chairperson, is what we often experience as stress, indecision, or being all over the place. The goal of mindfulness is not to fire the committee. It is not to appoint a dictator, which usually means the critic takes over. The goal is to become the symphony conductor. A great conductor does not play every instrument. She doesn't tell the violins to be the trumpets, or the cellos to stop being so mournful. Her genius lies in listening deeply to the entire orchestra. She appreciates the unique tone and role of each section. The sorrowful, soulful beauty of the cellos, the bright, alert calls of the piccolos, the grounding, heartbeat rhythm of the timpani. Her power is in eliciting harmony from diversity. She gives the mournful cello its rightful moment to sing a solo of legitimate grief. Then, with a graceful gesture, she signals the flutes to enter with a counter-melody of hope. She weaves them together, all held within the steady, unifying tempo set by the drums. She doesn't silence the cello. She integrates its song into a more complex, beautiful, and whole piece of music. You are the conductor of your inner symphony. Each of those inner voices is a section of your orchestra. They are not your enemies. The critic has a valuable skill, keen attention to detail and a drive for improvement. The worrier has a valuable skill, forecasting and planning for potential challenges. The inner child holds your capacity for joy, wonder, and authentic feeling. The pessimist sees real obstacles that need to be addressed. The taskmaster gets things done. The people-pleaser values connection and social harmony. Your suffering arises when you let one section play fortissimo all the time, drowning out the rest. When the critic conducts, your life becomes a harsh, relentless critique. When the worrier conducts, it's a symphony of anxiety with no resolution. When the people-pleaser conducts, your own melody gets lost. The practice is to pick up your baton, your mindful, witnessing awareness, and begin to listen like a conductor. Identify the lead player, which voice is dominating the rehearsal right now. Name it. Ah, the critic is on the podium. It's conducting the "You're not good enough" concerto again. Acknowledge its music, let it play its phrase. Don't try to stop at mid-note. Listen to its tune. It's pointing out every mistake I made today. Its tempo is frantic. Bring in another section, gently, invite a different, quieter voice to contribute. Ask, what might the compassionate friend, or the sage, or the realist, have to say about this? Let that voice offer a single sentence, a different melody. The sage might whisper, "You are learning. Mistakes are part of the process." The compassionate friend might hum, "You are tired. You did the best you could today." Seek the harmony. Is there a truth held in both? The critic says, "This work could be better." The sage says, "You are learning." The harmony might be, "This work could be better, and that's okay because I am in the process of learning. I can rest and revisit it tomorrow." You are not silencing the critic, you are integrating its feedback into a wiser, kinder context. You are moving from inner cacophony to inner symphony. From conflict to harmonization. When facing a dilemma, a decision, or intense inner conflict, call a formal, board meeting. This is a writing exercise that brings structure to the symphony. Set the table. In your journal, list 4 to 5 of your key inner board members. Give them simple names: the protector, the dreamer, the logical mind, the heart, the adventurer. State the agenda. Write down the single decision or conflict at the top of the page. Decision: should I take the new job? Conflict: I feel resentful about always hosting family events. Take minutes, go down your list. For each member, write what their position is on this matter. Let them speak fully without censorship. The protector: the new job is risky. Stay with the safe income. Hosting is your duty, rocking the boat causes conflict. The dreamer: the new job is an exciting adventure. It's your calling. Stop hosting and go travel instead. The logical mind: analyze the 401k match and commute time. Calculate the cost per person of hosting versus rotating. The heart: I feel drained in the current job. I feel taken for granted by the family. Find the consensus, read back the minutes. Is there a common thread? A shared concern? Often, you'll find all parts want your well-being and happiness. They just have different, often conflicting, strategies for achieving it. The consensus might be: we all want a decision that leads to long-term fulfillment and peace, not short-term relief or approval. Vote from the chair. As the chair, your conscious, aware self, make the decision that best honors the wisest counsel from all members, aiming for the consensus goal of long-term peace. The decision is now informed, integrated, and less likely to be sabotaged by an ignored inner voice. This practice moves you from confused, paralyzing conflict to integrated, wise decision-making. We arrive now at a master key, a quality that can unlock every door we've discussed so far. In Zen, it is called Shoshin, beginner's mind. It is the mind that is open, eager, curious, and free from the preconceptions, conclusions, and pride of the expert. The expert's mind is closed. It is full of already knowing. It sees a cup and thinks, I know what a cup is, and the inquiry ends. It sees a feeling of anxiety and thinks, ah, my anxiety. I know this pattern, and proceeds on autopilot, missing the unique texture of this anxiety, in this moment. The expert's mind has everything categorized, filed away. It lives in the past of its own knowledge. The beginner's mind sees the cup as if for the very first time, its curve, its weight in the hand, the way light reflects and refracts through the water within it, its emptiness, its potential to be filled. It meets the feeling of anxiety with fresh curiosity. What is this experience, really, in this new moment? Where do I feel it today? What is its unique flavor? We suffer because we become experts on ourselves. I am an anxious person. I always fail at relationships. I'm not creative. I'm a procrastinator. These are expert pronouncements. They are closed, definitive chapters in the book of our identity. They shut down possibility. Beginner's mind reopens the book. It says, let's see what's true now. I witnessed the transformative power of this not in a monastery, but in a dance studio in Copenhagen. The class was for people with advanced Parkinson's disease. The teacher, a radiant woman named Anya, began not by teaching steps, but by saying, "For the next hour, forget everything you know about your body. Forget diagnosis. Forget can't and should. Forget limitation. We are not here to move bodies. We are here to listen to the music of movement that wants to happen through these bodies, today, in this room." She had them simply sway, eyes closed, noticing the sensation of shift and balance as if they were discovering gravity for the first time. A man whose body was often locked by rigidity began to make tiny, fluid circles with his wrist, a look of astonished wonder on his face. The joy in the room was palpable, thick in the air. They were not Parkinson's patients trying to dance. They were eternal students of motion, exploring a new universe of sensation with the fresh eyes of beginners. Their expert mind, full of prognosis, limitation, and past struggle, was temporarily silenced. Their beginner's mind, full of curiosity, presence, and possibility, was set free. It was one of the most spiritually profound things I have ever seen. Your practice, every single day, is to approach your own mind, your own heart, your own life with beginner's mind. When a familiar negative thought arises, don't think, "Oh, there's my old story again." Instead, think, "Interesting. This narrative is appearing. What is its texture today? Is it heavy? Is it sharp? Let me listen to it as if I've never heard it before." When you look in the mirror, don't see the familiar face with its familiar judgments, "Too old, too tired, same old me." Try to see the play of light and shadow, the living history in the eyes, the map of experience on the skin, as if seeing a fascinating and complex stranger for the first time. When you walk your dog on the same route you've taken 1,000 times, pretend it is your first day in this neighborhood. What do you actually see that you've never noticed? A pattern in the bricks of a wall? A particular tree's shape against the sky? The smell of the air after yesterday's rain? Beginner's mind is the antidote to existential boredom, to repetitive suffering, to the feeling of being stuck. It reveals the profound truth that no moment is ever truly repeated. No breath is the same as the last. No feeling is an exact replica. You are meeting life anew in every single second, if you choose to look with fresh, innocent eyes. It turns routine into discovery, and suffering into a curious object of study rather than a prison. Once a day, choose one utterly mundane, routine activity: brushing your teeth, tying your shoes, drinking a glass of water, unlocking your front door. The pledge. Say to yourself, for the full duration of this activity, I am a Martian. I have never seen a human do this. I have never experienced this sensation. I am encountering this for the very first time in the history of the universe. Explore with alien senses, perform the activity with painfully slow, intense curiosity. Brushing teeth, feel the bizarre plastic shaft of the brush. Marvel at the minty, foaming substance. Explore the strange landscape of your teeth and gums with the bristles. Listen to the sound it makes. Tying shoes, feel the texture of the laces. Observe the complex dance of your fingers as they perform this ancient knot-tying ritual. Watch the loops form as if by magic. Notice the shift. After completing the daily first, pause for a moment. Notice how this simple act of perceptual reset, this deliberate cultivation of beginner's mind, affects your state. There is often a slight afterglow of quiet amusement, presence, and clarity. You have just exercised the most important muscle in your spiritual body, the muscle of curiosity over conclusion. As our journey together draws to its gentle close, feel the space within you now. It may not be perfectly silent or still, that is not the goal. But it is likely more spacious, more resonant, than when we began 3 hours ago. You have not been given a list of rules to follow. You have been offered a set of lenses through which to view your own experience. The lens of the cartographer, mapping your inner terrain. The lens of the lighthouse keeper, tending your light in any storm. The lens of the gardener, tending the soil of maybe. The lens of the mosaicist, seeing wholeness in every broken piece. The lens of the symphony conductor, harmonizing your inner community. The lens of the eternal student, meeting each moment with fresh wonder. These are not identities to put on. They are perspectives to try on. A difficult emotion might call for the cartographer. A period of waiting might ask for the gardener. A conflict within might need the conductor. You now have a full toolkit, not a single hammer. Remember the core, simple truth that has echoed through each of these metaphors. Peace is not a place you get to. It is a relationship you have with the place you already are. You have an unshakable hearth within. The home of aware presence that cannot be taken from you. You have a breath that forever tethers you to the now. You have an awareness that can witness the fiercest storms without becoming them. You are the gardener of your uncertain future, the weaver of your inherited past, the composer of your present moment symphony. The specific practices we've shared. The sensory anchor, decoding the pattern, the 3-point map, the homecoming breath, wedging the clay, the lighthouse posture, the 1-minute communion, the maybe journal, the piece of peace, the inner board meeting, the daily first, these are your instruments. But you are not the instruments. You are the musician. Use them gently, patiently, without the demand for a perfect performance. Their value is in the playing, not just the final note. Tomorrow, when the old patterns whisper their familiar, seductive stories, you will have a choice. You can follow them down the old, well-worn neural paths, or you can pause. Breathe. And remember, I have arrived. I am home. I am the sky, not the weather. I am the conductor, not just one instrument. I am the mosaicist, and every piece belongs. I am the gardener, and I can tend the soil of this moment. This is not positive thinking. This is conscious remembering. It is the act of reorienting your identity from the content of your experience, the thoughts, the feelings, to the context, the aware, spacious presence that holds it all. From all of us at Monk's Moon Temple, we thank you for your courageous, gentle, and steadfast presence. You have shown up for yourself in a profound way. Take these understandings not as another burden, another list of things you should do right. Take them as a permission slip. A lifelong permission slip to come home to yourself, exactly as you are in this and every moment. May you walk through your days with the steady light of the keeper, the curious hands of the gardener, the compassionate heart of the mosaicist, and the fresh eyes of the eternal student. May you remember, especially when you forget, that your true home is always, ever, just one breath away. And now, as a final integration, let us practice together one last time. Let us weave all these threads into a single, sustained experience of homecoming. Find a comfortable position, sitting or lying down. Allow your body to be fully supported. Let your eyes gently close. Begin with the sensory anchor. Bring your attention to the feeling of your body making contact with the chair or the floor. Feel the weight, the pressure, the support. Let this be your anchor in physical reality. Pause 30 seconds. Now, become the cartographer. Scan your inner landscape. Without judgment, simply notice. What is the dominant sensation in the body right now? Tiredness? Relaxation? Ache? Warmth? Just note it. What is the prevailing thought or mental tone? Peaceful? Busy? Quiet? Just label it, as you would a feature on a map. Pause 30 seconds. Invite the lighthouse keeper. Feel your spine as the strong, steady tower. Imagine a warm, gentle light glowing in the center of your chest, your inner beacon. With each inhale, the light brightens. With each exhale, it radiates calm, steady light in all directions. You are the keeper. Your only duty is to maintain this light of awareness. Pause 1 minute. Now, practice the homecoming breath. Breathing in, silently say, I have arrived. Feel the truth of it. You are here. Breathing out, silently say, I am home. Feel the truth of it. This aware space is your sanctuary. Continue for 1 minute. Arrived. Home. Engage the potter. Is there any residual hardness, a reactive clay anywhere in your body? A clenching in the jaw? A holding in the shoulders? Bring your breath like warm water to that spot. Soften it. Knead it with your attention. Ask it gently, what are you made of? Listen. Then, with this softer material, simply let it be. You don't have to shape it into anything. Just allow it to be soft. Pause 1 minute. Enter the symphony of the senses. Expand your awareness to include sound. Don't name the sounds. Just hear them as pure sensation, vibrations in the air. Feel the temperature of the air on your skin. Notice any scents. For this moment, be in pure communion with the sensory reality of this room. Pause 1 minute. Become the gardener of this moment. You are tending the garden of now. You are not waiting for a better moment. You are not fighting this one. You are simply present, tending the simple plant of your breath, of your awareness. Whatever weather is inside you, calm, restless, sleepy. It is just weather. You are the gardener, present and tending. Pause 1 minute. See yourself as the mosaicist. In the light of your awareness, see the pieces of this day, this week, this life. The bright pieces and the dark. See them held together in the golden mortar of your compassionate attention. Every piece belongs. You are not broken. You are a work of sacred art in progress. Pause 1 minute. Now, be the conductor. Listen to your inner community. Is the critic here? The worrier? The tired one? The peaceful one? Acknowledge each. Give each a nod. You are not any single one. You are the space that holds them all, the conductor inviting them to rest in a moment of harmony. The harmony is this silence, this shared breath. Pause 1 minute. Finally, embody the eternal student. Let go of everything you think you know about this meditation, about yourself. Be a beginner. Encounter the very next breath as if it's the first breath you've ever taken. Feel the miracle of it. The cool inflow, the warm outflow. Be astonished by the simple fact of being alive and aware. Pause 1 minute. And rest. Let all the labels go, the cartographer, the keeper, the potter, the gardener. Let them all dissolve back into the simple, luminous awareness that you are. No role. No task. Just being. Just presence. Just home. Rest here, in the fullness of your own unshakable hearth, for the final moments of our time together. Pause for 2 to 3 minutes of silence, with only soft, natural background sound. To close, very gently, begin to deepen your breath. Wiggle your fingers and toes. Slowly, when you are ready, open your eyes. Carry this integrated feeling of wholeness, of being the container for all your experiences, with you as you move into the rest of your day and your life. You are not just someone who listened to a script. You are someone who practiced remembrance. That practice continues now, in you, by you, for you. Thank you, and sweet peace on your path.